What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Bearded Browns podcast. What is up, Angel?
Hey, it's been a while.
It has been a while, but we got a
It's
great
been
show
a
in
while.
line today. We have a special guest, first and foremost. Barry Shuck will be joining us here shortly.
I'm
Um,
excited for this one.
I cannot wait, man. He's a knowledgeable guy about the Cleveland Browns, the team that we all love dearly. We have a lot to talk about. First, we're going to talk about some new news around the league, and then we're going to get into the 1980s stuff. And I think Barry's going to join us for that. But sorry we did not go live last week. I was sick, and Angel was with his family in Florida on vacation.
Enjoying the sun,
At Disney,
riding
how was
rides
your
at Disney.
vacation?
It was fun. We had a little hiccup. My daughters and I got a little stomach bug, but it lasted about a day. But after that, it was fine. Road rides, visit Star Wars was one of my favorite places to go. Build another lightsaber, so I got two more to go, and then I'll have the whole collection.
That
And
thing's
then
awesome.
I can be a Jedi, whatever Jedi I want to be. Whatever one I want to be, I can be.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm still trying to get over this cold here, but one day at a time. That's all you can do, I guess. That's what they say anyways. But yeah, a great show today. Everyone be sure to check out our sponsors. You got Mistakes on the Lakes and CB Excavating. Check them out. But yeah, we have a lot to get to. I'm going to bring Barry in here, and we're going to actually start talking about some Cleveland Browns news that's going around now instead of going back. We'll go back in a little bit here, but let's bring Barry in here. Barry Shuck, what is up, buddy?
Yes.
Hey, how are y'all? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Barry Shuck is a writer for Dogs by Nature. You can check his work out at www.dogsbynature.com. It's got great stories. I've read a bunch of them. Great guy, great writer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just got back from the Senior Bowl and spent a week there, and that was enlightening. Interviewing players and doing a daily diary. Last year, I interviewed DeJuan Jones. He was only there for Tuesday, and then he left. My thoughts was as big as he was, as tall and as much as he weighed, they probably just didn't want to.
Yeah, DeJuan Jones is a monster, and I'm glad that guy's coming back next year. I definitely am glad DeJuan Jones is coming back. That guy's a crucial part of the line for sure.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, it's
Go ahead, Barry.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Jack Conklin and Jed Wills. They're both hurt, and you've got three starting offensive tackles in only two positions. Somebody's got to either sit or go.
I agree. And I said it all along that I'm not a huge fan of Jedrick Wills because the guy always seems to be injured, and we're paying him $15 million a year. That's
Yeah, I think he's a pedestrian on the field a lot of times. I've watched a lot of film on him, and each game I do a column after the game called Brownies and Frownies. I write about who played well and who didn't play well. So I'm watching everything. I'm not watching the ball. I'm watching a lot of things. And Jed Wills, if he just doesn't stay engaged, then he just kind of stands there. He doesn't look for a secondary guy to block.
nope.
He's in his fifth and final year, so we're going to find out.
That's the
Yeah, I
thing. We're going
agree.
to find somebody to pick him up in that contract because, like you said, he's got 1 year left. And like you said, honestly,
Yeah.
every time I see the guy trying to make a play, he looks like he's like squirrel and just stops. That's my
He's
opinion.
a
on
good
him.
run blocker. He really is. Pass blocking, he's got lots of issues. But he's a really good run blocker. But if Jack Conklin can be healthy for an entire season, you can put him on one side, DeJuan Jones on the other side, which DeJuan Jones is a natural left tackle. Jed Wills was a natural right tackle at Alabama and all of his years in high school except for one. So maybe he's just out of position. But if you can get Jack Conklin to stay healthy and DeJuan Jones on the other side, then you got the two Pro Bowlers at guard and you got Posick at center. We could come back to being an elite offensive line like we were the year before that. You agree?
Yeah, that line that sounds lethal. Like any running back can go behind that, let alone Ford or Chubb, and run the ball pretty well.
I really thoroughly enjoy Posick. I think he's a great center, man. That guy's showed up for sure. But with that being said, now that we talked about the offensive line, what do you, Barry, think about the coaching changes this year?
Well, it's really surprising that there were so many of them. I really didn't expect for Van Pelt to go. And now we got Jimmy D's in, and is he going to leave without even coaching a single down? Looks like he might be on his way out. He was the offensive coordinator of Alabama. So I think what they should have done is they should have brought in. I was hoping Kellen Moore would end up with Cleveland, and the reason for that is he is a known play caller. And raise your hand if you believe that Kevin Stefanski is the answer at play calling, because his first 15 scripted plays are great. A lot of first possession for the Browns all year, every game they go down there and do well, and then after that, when Stefanski's kind of on his own, I don't think he does so well. But I don't know if he's going to call plays or not this year or not. And then losing Callahan, I've interviewed several offensive linemen. The last one I did, I said, why is Callahan so great? He said he has a game plan for each player on the offensive line. So it's not, the offensive line is not one player, it's 5 players. And they work as 5 players instead of 1 player. But this was Drew Forbes, the backup guard that I interviewed. He said, each one of us has a separate game plan. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, the guy in front of you has tendencies so that Callahan, Bill, they call him Bill, will devise a plan for, say, left tackle. This is what you do with your right defensive end. And then the center, it's got defensive tackles on each side of him. If it's a 4-3, if not, it's a nose. He's got a plan specifically designed for him. I didn't know that happened. Did y'all?
No. Makes sense now how good the offensive line and whoever steps in seems to be prepared. So he's over preparing them for the game.
Oh yeah.
He's preparing them for the defender in front of him. And of course, the right defensive end is completely different than the left defensive end. So you've got a different game plan. He knows that guy's tendencies and how to attack him and what you do on run situations and on pass blocking situations. How do you handle this guy? Where does he normally run or attack? And the other guy has a totally different plan. You're going to have a different plan for Myles Garrett than you are going to be, say, Alex Wright on the other side. So it made a lot of sense to me. But we're losing Callahan. And what's weird to me is they just kind of let him go, because the NFL, the way it works is if you go after a coach, it has to be an elevation in position. So you have to go from linebacker coach to DC, or you have to go from cornerback coach to linebacker coach. Well, he went from offensive line coach to offensive line coach. And that's against the rules. And I think they just, I don't know, in honor of him, said, yeah, you want to go work with your son? Okay, we'll release you. And it's going to be kind of like the Bill Belichick thing where, yeah, we're agreeing to disagree. So we're going to part ways, but I'm not fired and I'm not resigning. Right.
Yeah.
It was a bummer to see him go, honestly.
Yeah. So, but they got the guy from Seattle, and he's an offensive line coach, and he's a good coach. What did y'all think about losing all those coaches?
You Angel first.
Yeah, Callahan was the one that bothered me, and I kind of agree with the parallel move. Like he just jumped. He didn't like jump ahead. He just moved to the side, basically to a different team. And I think his son had a lot to do with that. And I also think it kind of shows how this front office is very they're very giving sometimes to their fault. Like you're
Yeah,
nice. You should have been a little
yeah,
more less nice here. It's like you're too kind of
yeah.
like we can replace you with anybody mentality. And I think I agree with you. The guy from Seattle may be good, but like Callahan is just I think is irreplaceable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Tommy Reeves from Alabama, it was rumored he was going to go be UCLA's coach, but I don't. It doesn't look like he is. So if he's coming to be the tight end coach, um, and he was a former quarterback, he's former offensive coordinator. Why would he go from offensive coordinator to tight end coach? A lot of coaches don't necessarily coach what position they were in. Um, Callahan was a quarterback in college, and
Right.
now he's an offensive line coach and considered one of the best. So that happens all the time. They would just, and the reason it happens all the time is because their viewpoints and their coaching philosophy is exactly parallel to the head coach. And so they just kind of find a place to put him, even though you play quarterback in high school or in college. Here, you coach the cornerbacks or you coach the tight ends. And because they fit what Stefanski's scheme is, and they look like they're going to get along.
And excuse me, that's what I like about it the most, Barry and Angel. Me and Angel have had this conversation. I think it's going to change our whole scheme. Nobody's going to really know what to look forward to this year on the offensive side of things. I think everything's going to change, and I like that. It's going to bring out more of our offense, I think, and I think we're trying to adapt more to Deshaun Watson as well, and that's huge. You got to do that. I mean, we've seen the guy struggle. Obviously, we've seen him great as well, but I think with these coaches coming in, some of them that know him, I think it's going to help.
Yeah, and you got to do that with Deshaun Watson because he's our quarterback. Do not for one second think that Joe Flacco is going to be signed as the backup on this team and be the starting quarterback. He's not.
Right.
They pay too much, and it's kind of one of those things where you make a questionable decision and you either spent too much money or you gave up something or you passed on something, and you just got to swallow your pride and say, well, I'm doing it and I'm going for a long haul. And so that's what they do. And Ken Dorsey coming in to be the OC is exactly going to fit what Deshaun Watson's skill set is like. And they brought in, Chad O'Shea. He's now going to be the passing game coordinator. That's going to be interesting to see how that is. And Tommy Reeves, he's also the passing game specialist, along with being the tight end coach.
Right.
Tommy Reeves, he ran Alabama's offense. Alabama went, to the Final Four this year, so that'll be a good high. And the offensive line coach is Andy Dickerson.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of his
Yeah,
name. I
Dickerson.
just thought of, yeah. And he was up for the OC for a while.
Yeah, I seen that. He was having big talks. I think he came up here for 2 interviews for the OC position. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I heard that Tommy Reese was possibly going to take that UCLA job, the head coaching job, I was like bummed. I'm like, man, you've been here a week. You're just going to leave.
It's like
but I'm glad that is not happening.
Yeah, they already hired somebody. They hired Deshaun Foster as the school's next head coach. He's in the UCLA Hall of Fame as a player, and he's worked there as an assistant coach before.
Right.
Played 7 years in the NFL, but so that's a good hire. He's a lot of colleges want to hire a guy that is an alumnus. We know that with Jim Harbaugh. That just happens all the time. Not that it matters. Nick Saban was not an Alabama alumnus, but they like to hire that because it represents who you're from. It represents the fabric of you as far as being a coach and a player, that you graduated from this school, you went on in your life, you're back now, you're the head coach, you represented that school all your life. Whereas the NFL is just, it's never been that way. They don't care if you're from Cleveland or not.
Right. One other thing I wanted to touch base with you and Angel as well is the salary cap. We all know we're 20 million over going into it, which is not good. I said it 2 weeks ago. I said I'm going to start calling Andrew Barry Big Betting Barry because he's obviously hoping for, the salary cap to increase, which it did 4 years ago, I believe. 3 or 4 years ago, it increased.
Yeah, right.
But
Right.
I say he's betting for that. That's a big thing on his plate right now is to wait for that salary cap. Obviously, we're going to have to extend some contracts, and what do you think about that?
Well, the name of the game is talent, cash, draft picks, and salary cap space. That's just the way it is. And for the Browns, on paper, it looks like they got a lot of talent. Now they've got a huge free agent list. I think it's got 26 players on it, and we're talking about some big names like our punters there. We got 5 linebackers. We got 3 defensive tackles. We got a backup quarterback. Let's see. Our kick returner. Well, he may be our kick returner, Jakeem Grant.
Yeah.
Backup offensive linemen like Michael Dunn and Nick Harris. Backup safety Rodney McLeod. So, how many of those guys are they going to re-sign before the league year, which starts on March the 13th?
Yep.
If they do sign some of these guys to plug their hole, 5 linebackers on there. If they don't sign any of them, then we've got 5 that are on the team right now, and 2 of them were on the practice squad last year or undrafted rookies. So I think the Browns, what they probably need to do is they got to have some kind of savings to provide some significant savings from some players that are already getting money. Amari Cooper, they could save $12.5 million if they could reduce his $20 million, and that would provide them with about $7.5 million. Nick Chubb, he's going to make $12 million this year. Well, what if he made the league minimum and they gave him all that money in a bonus? Joel Bitonio, they can save $3.4 million on him, and not to mention Watson. What is Watson going to make? 46 million? Yeah. What did you say?
60 million, and they're talking about cutting it in half and drawing out the contract. Obviously, it's more years
Further
added
back.
on.
Yeah. That's. I mean, they've got to get some of these players to ante up, and they're getting the money. It's not like they're asking them to take a pay cut. They're not. They're just, if you're getting 60 million, let's give you 3 million this year, and then we'll do 57 million in a bonus. Right. So here's a $57 million check. Say, so it's the same money. It's the same 60. They're just giving it, and I don't know how they're able to go around the salary cap like that, but it's either loopholes or it's adjusted contracts to be that way. I mean, last year, Jack Conklin got restructured. Harrison Bryant got reworked. David Njoku got reworked. A lot of them did. But I think they've also got to have some extensions, like Dustin Hopkins. We don't want him to leave, do we?
No,
he's on a 2-year deal.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He's on a 2-year deal. This is last year. He's set to count $3 million, I believe, against the salary cap, but an extension could lower that number significantly if it's, the bonuses are up front. So I think there's wiggle room there, but it's going to have to be wiggle room that's going to have to be worked out. I think another way to get $2 million is just cut tight end Jordan Akins. He's set to make $2 million. What do you have? Less than 300 receiving yards this year?
Yep.
I thought he was going to have a bigger year than that, or more of a role.
You and I are in the same boat. I am just shocked that he had such little. Him and Harrison Bryant both, just nothing from them. Absolutely nothing from them. They paid Harrison Bryant over $4 million, and got very little production. I, I think they got 200 and something yards out of him. I did a story one time and figured out that he made like 85,000 a catch this year.
I
So,
wish.
so
Yeah,
there could be. Well, he's a free agent. Yeah,
okay.
Harrison Bryant's a free agent, so they probably won't re-sign him. Everything across the board with Harrison Bryant was low numbers, targets, receptions, yards, everything, yards after contact, everything was his lowest numbers as a pro, and it was the biggest year that he needed that to happen. So they've got players that they can extract money out of and gain salary cap, because free agency is, well, next month. It's like a month away.
Yeah, isn't it from like
They-
February 25th to March 5th or 13th or something like that? It's not like
Let me see. No, it's usually in March. It's March 11th.
March 11th. That's
So it actually starts the 13th. It actually starts the 13th, but the tampering period starts Monday the 11th. So they got 2 days to work on contracts and get agreements, and then on the 13th, that's when they actually file them. But that's when it starts, and then of course the draft is the last weekend in April. So all of that is players that they've got to have money for, much less who they're going to sign off of their free agent list.
And the draftees that they draft in this year too, they got to have money for them also. If they draft
Absolutely.
anybody, I mean, if they don't drop behind the draft like they tend to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, their first draft pick is in the second round at number 54.
yeah.
So
that's-
they don't have a first
Yeah.
round pick. This is the last year for the.
wait. Well, I guess it's just me. I don't know what happened there. What just happened?
Oh no, you disappeared.
Am I still here now?
I see you now.
Hopefully Barry is back.
Yeah,
Did
very.
you
Sorry
bring
for that,
anything to
guys.
eat, nachos or something?
Nachos.
I don't know what happened. I was sitting still. I was paying attention to your story. Then bam.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
That's good.
Barry, we always have one technical difficulty during the show. It's always one thing. And
It's
that
like
was
Miles Garrett jumping off sides once a game. That's our Miles
Yeah,
Garrett jumping off
it.
sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, my biggest thing right now, Barry, is like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady did. I know Deshaun Watson's contract is guaranteed money, but you could take less to help out the team, but he
You
chooses
could.
not to do that, it seems.
Yeah.
It used to be that way. Now it used to be if you were paid a set amount that you would give a hometown discount and get less, but they don't do that anymore. That you get the same money, but it just comes in different methods because somebody has figured out how to circumvent the salary cap and use it that way. That happens all the time. Harrison Bryant made his $4 million last year. He made the NFL minimum on books, but he got all the rest of it before the season even started in a check. So it's the same money. So they don't do discounts anymore. It's like no contract is written without guaranteed money anymore.
Right.
Where did that come from?
We will
That
talk
used to
about
never
that
be.
in a
I mean,
second. We do have to take a quick break really quick.
Sure.
It's
So
getting so good.
I know it is, but we got to take a quick break. We will be right back with Barry Shuck and Angel. Be right back, ladies and gentlemen. What is up, everybody? Mike Wilkes here from the Bearded Browns podcast, letting you know that we're going to be working with Mistakes on the Lake Clothing. They have everything you need. Why not check them out? If you want to go to their store, it's 4542 Liberty Avenue in beautiful Vermilion, Ohio. You want to contact them? Their phone number is 440-670-3145. They have everything from Cleveland to Columbus gear. They have Lake Erie gear. Why not check it out? It's all great stuff you can get for your wife, your kids, your newborn. They even have onesies, shirts that say good moms and dads don't raise Michigan fans, just Ohio stuff, and it's awesome. So be sure to check them out. They have everything you need. Even the candles, custom coasters, can koozies, wine tumblers, phone grips, everything, stickers. It is awesome. Check them out. Do not be the mistake on a lake and regret this decision. Go and check them out.
Worry about the one that comes in.
All right.
Whereas here
We
on the
are
Gulf
back.
of Mexico,
Barry's just giving me surfing lessons in case I wanted to do it in Lake Erie.
I'm down to surf. You guys see me run across the room? Barry, where do you live at?
Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, lucky guy. Man,
Yeah,
I wish.
it's we have two seasons, hot and hotter.
I have a buddy that lives out in Florida, a couple friends that actually live out in Florida, and they're from Ohio originally, and they're complaining about it being 60 degrees.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, I'm originally from Indiana. My brother lives in Indianapolis.
Sorry. We're looking at the comments. Some Angel's wife is actually asking if the guy in the brown hoodie is single, and he said yes. Oh, man, that was great.
My
my brother.
wife is probably on break. She's a therapist, so she's probably in between clients right now. I'm surprised she's even on. She normally catches it afterwards, but it's good to see her on. Thanks,
Yeah,
hon.
Oh,
My brother lives in Indianapolis, so it's wonderful to go there. We can drive to Cleveland in 5 hours. We can go to Chicago. We can go to Cincinnati. We can go to Green Bay. It's within drive distance to a lot of places.
that is awesome. Another question I wanted to ask you: how long have you been a Browns fan, and what made you really, really want to start writing about the Cleveland Browns themselves?
Well, I started writing. I've written for since the 90s. I've written for probably 30 different publications. Back in the day, it was if you got Brown's Report, it was a newsletter. It was a newspaper that was about 32 pages, and it came every week during the season and monthly during the off season. I wrote for 24 of those. So I wrote for the Giants News Weekly and Redskin Review and Silver and Black Illustrated. So it's not, and so I was writing for a Giant site on SB Nation, and I was writing for the Cleveland Browns site on a part-time basis, and they lost a writer, and the editor offered it to me, and I took it, and been there ever since.
So you just naturally fell in love with the Browns overnight, one night?
Yeah, it's well, I've always loved Jim Brown. I met Jim Brown in the 90s. Still got a mini helmet signed by him that took some doing. Um, but you know, back then that was football, and I grew up with stuff like that. I played middle linebacker, so I always liked uh, players like and I played second team offensive line, so I like Gene Hickerson and um, like Dick Butkus and the players that were playing positions that I played. But who didn't like Jim Brown in the day?
Man, I'll give you everything in my bank account right now for that helmet.
The helmet.
That's a story.
That would be nice.
I was sent to Las Vegas to cover a Hall of Fame show. It had 15 Hall of Famers from each sport. I was working for Beckett Publications at the time. Beckett is who does all the price guides for sports cards.
Yeah.
And they
I
did.
remember that. I was like, where do I remember that name from? Yeah,
They
I
still
remember
do.
now.
So if you got a football card or a baseball card, you want to know the price of it. You buy a Beckett and you look in there and look for the year. But I went there and I was interviewing. I think I only interviewed like 2 or 3 basketball players. Interviewed Bobby Hull of the Chicago Blackhawks. That was a great story. I was like behind a partition, and I was interviewing him, and back then you had a micro cassette. Today you have a digital recorder, and I was interviewing him, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of tables, fold out tables in front of us, and behind the tables this guy walks by, and Bobby Hull yells at him and says, "Hey, where's my check?" And he says, "Well, you were going to do this and you're going to," he says, "Nope. Where is my check?" He said, I autographed 98 more pucks than you said. I autographed 117 more mini helmets that you said. I want to know where my check is. And the guy stammered one more time. And Bobby Hull leaped over these fold out tables and tackled this guy. And then what I did is I took the tables and parted them because there was nothing on them. And I just kind of got in the fray, not knowing who was right or who was wrong, trying to just separate them. And Bobby Hall was wailing on him, just wailing on him.
Wanted his money.
And then the guy said, "Yeah, I'll get you, blah, blah, blah." And then we finished the interview. That was the end of that.
Man, that is awesome.
So, if it was today, I would have grabbed my camera and pushed record.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Millions of views on that. That would have been amazing.
I could be that guy.
Right. So we wanted to talk mainly today about the 1980s Cleveland Browns, and we do a section that's called Facts with an Angel, because his name's Angel, and it's like the cool thing that we put a little twist on, and he does facts about whatever we're talking about, whether it's a game or just facts with an angel, because he's an angel. Look at him.
Oh, we're gonna do that. I was hoping that Barry would just.
Oh no! We're gonna. Oh, I'm just letting Barry know that we do that.
Okay, good.
Well, somebody has to be the pretty one.
Hey, you know what I did notice, Barry, is you're the only one on a podcast. It's called Bearded Browns Podcast without a beard, buddy.
You look
I
good.
can tell you that my brother in Indianapolis, he plays Santa Claus every year, and his beard exceeds y'all's by about 7-8 inches.
Man, that's the story of my life, Barry.
You want to play Santa Claus?
It's getting there. It's getting grayer and grayer. So
yeah. Well, it's got to be solid white. So
soon enough.
All right. So we're talking about the Browns in the 80s, huh?
Yeah, with its so we've done some homework over the week, and the biggest thing, obviously, in a Red Right 88 game was there was a quote on a video that I watched is, all year the Browns lived by the pass game. And in that playoff game against the Raiders, they died by the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so crucial because that year the Raiders won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right.
So we got beat by the Super Bowl team, and that was it was kind of a tearjerker. You see all these fans and Cleveland reuniting itself, and just Brian Sipe making Cleveland's dreams happen. You know what I mean? Everybody won before I die, because we've had plenty of championships, but not a Super Bowl. That was our chance. I think that was our biggest chance since then. And we blew it.
Yeah, that was a good team.
Yep. Red Right 88, man. Who picked that ball off? Does anybody know?
No.
In the end zone?
I don't remember.
I know it was a Raider. I know that. I can't remember the guy's name right now, and I thought I wrote it down. I did not. Excuse me.
Well, you're talking about Red Right 88. I did an interview with Dave Logan.
Oh, man.
And Red Right 88 is Dave Logan's play. It's not anybody else's play. It's a play to him. And so I'm a pretty positive writer, and I didn't want to talk about it very much. But, in that game, kicker Don Cockcroft had already missed 2 field goals, plus he missed an extra point because the wind was so bad in that game. So there's 7 points that the Browns couldn't have. And so they were in field goal range. The head coach was Sam Rutigliano, and he had been named Coach of the Year that year. But
Twice.
He went for the touchdown. Yeah,
79 and
he went
80.
for the touchdown instead of immediately lining up for the field goal. And he told me, he said it was just the conditions were awful. He said the wind was bad. It was 3 degrees plus the wind chill. He said it was like minus something.
I think it was minus 30.
And during the time, yeah. And he said during the timeout, they had every intention of kicking the field goal. But Coach Sam wanted to get a little closer first and not leave the Raiders any time and maybe even more. So that's what set up Red Right 88. They weren't trying to score necessarily. They were trying to get closer so that Cockcroft would have a chance to kick the field goal. So when the ball was snapped, Logan said, I had 2 steps on my defender, but sight threw it towards Ozzie Newsome, and it went the other direction. And that's what happened.
One play.
That's all it takes, man.
So
One play.
It was the play was for Dave Logan. Red Right 88 is a pass play to Dave Logan, but he didn't throw it to him.
That's a bummer.
So,
Psych.
I actually posted a video, or I'm sorry, I posted a picture this week of Dave Logan catching a one-handed ball in the end zone against the Steelers at Municipal Stadium this week. And man,
that was on the cover of 1980
Sports Illustrated. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. You know what Dave Logan does today?
What's that?
He does 2 things. He is a high school football coach, and he has won, I think, 7 state championships.
Wow.
But what he does is his stipend, he divides up among his assistant coaches and gives it to them.
Wow.
So he doesn't make any money. But the other thing is he's the voice of the Denver Broncos. He is their radio voice for the Denver Bronco 32 years.
Oh.
I think I did see something about that.
Yeah, I think.
Oh. Yeah,
you just blew my mind right there.
He's been selected Colorado Broadcaster of the Year four times.
Man,
so if you listen at home to a Broncos game, you're hearing Dave Logan.
That's like Brian Sipe actually coached some high school football as well. I don't know if you knew that, but he was at Santa Fe Christian School in Solona Beach, California. Coaching football out there for a couple of years. I don't think he's doing it now because I believe he's now just an architect, is what I heard.
Yeah.
That's insane. I'd much rather be an architect than a football player.
Yeah. Well, players do all kind of things. Matt Barr is a structural engineer in Pittsburgh.
I remember Matt Barr.
Kicker.
Yeah.
He was famous for kicking for the Giants in 2 Super Bowls. I've got a football card of him. It shows him tackling. He played rugby, he played soccer, and he was just a tackler. So it's just like the Hammer. When we had the Hammer, and now he's with the Giants, the Scottish Hammer. He's a rugby player. So he's always down there trying to make the
Oh,
tackle.
what was his name? The Scottish Hammer. What was his name? The punter, right?
Yeah, the punter.
Yeah.
He's punter for the Giants now.
Mind blowing. I can't remember that guy's name right now. He was with us in what?
Jamie Gillen.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I liked him.
Yeah,
I really
he's
did like him, but
Yeah, they found him in a rugby league.
yeah, I do remember that.
And he's a rugby. Yeah, and rugby is you kick all game, and you drop kick and you punt all game as a player. There's no punts actually in rugby as far as what we do as a punt. It's as you're running, you punt the ball and trying to get your players to jump on the ball and advance it. But he's on tackles. He's in a lot of tackles.
So, Angel, you first. If you could pick one Browns player to bring back today, who would it be from 1980?
Oh, 1980. I thought you said in general. I'm like, oh wow.
No.
Man, it's so rough because they had the Pruitt brothers. They had and that team was
they went
pretty. Clay Matthews was
11
on that team.
They went 11-5 that year.
Yeah. Considering that we need receivers, I would just do Dave Logan. I mean, I just want to go with what we need. I feel like if you have Amari Cooper, Logan, or even who's there? Oh, Richie Rucker. Yeah, Reggie
Yes.
Rucker.
That's my
I
pick.
mean, even if you had him, I mean, I think that would help our team out right now a lot.
Barry, what
I-
would be your
Yeah.
pick? I'm sorry, Angel.
No, I was going to say, I think our weakness going into the season would be receiving right now. So I would definitely pick one of those two.
Mine's Reggie Rucker.
Yeah.
What would yours be, Barry?
Well, looking at the Giants, looking at the Browns roster right now, we need linebackers. So Clay Matthews would be an obvious choice.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember this, but Bill Cowher was also a linebacker on that team.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, he was number 53. He played linebacker for the Browns that year. But I think if I was to pick one person from that team to bring back, it'd have to be Ozzie Newsome.
Yes. Yes, he's on there. Yeah, that would be he was special, man.
Those are three good picks, man.
Yeah.
I think we'd light it up next year with those guys on a team, honestly. And
I mean, that team was just so. I didn't before looking into it and realize how much talent was on that team. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, Cody Rison and Joe DeLamiere and Doug Deacon. You know that was a good offensive line.
Yeah.
Lyle Alzado.
Mm-hmm.
Great people.
Yeah, the crazy one, Jerry Shirk. I did an interview with Jerry Shirk. He was the Browns were on the first Monday Night Football game against the Jets, and Howard Cosell just reamed out Jerry Shirk as a rookie the entire game. The entire game, Howard Cosell would say something that Jerry Shirk didn't do this, didn't do that, and Shirk never knew it and never watched the broadcast. He told me until 20-year anniversary. He sat down and watched the game on ESPN or something. They showed it. And he said, I thought I played a good game.
It's a good old NFL hazing.
Yeah, that team had Calvin Hill on it too. An aging Calvin Hill.
Yes.
Hey, I got a story from a player off that team. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love stories.
Greg Pruitt.
Okay.
Greg Pruitt was a rookie. No, I think in 1980 he was in his second year, but as a rookie, being on the Browns, I did an interview with him, and he told me. I said, my last question when I interview a former player is, "What is your fondest memory of being a Cleveland Brown?" And he said, we were playing the Steelers. He said it was a home game. He said, and I didn't know what that Steelers-Browns rivalry was like. And I said, I'm not from here, so I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But I scored a touchdown in the first half. And then right before the end of the game, we were losing. and I took a right sweep, just did get in the end zone, a touchdown, and it was like less than a minute to go. And then the horn sounded and the game was over and the entire stadium erupted. He said everybody came off the stands, was on the field, and back then it was the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, right?
Oh yeah.
Which was the Cleveland Indians field, and the Browns locker room was the Indian, and the visitors locker baseball. And he said everybody was everywhere, and everybody was slapping my helmet and saying great game and this and that. He said, I'm going to be in trouble if I don't get off this field. There's just too many people here, and somebody's going to want to take my belt or take my jersey or take my helmet or whatever. He says I got to find the locker room. And he said he poked his head up, he looked, and he saw a cop on an elevated platform, and he could tell that was the entrance to the locker room. So he made his way all the way to the cop, and then he stood up on that platform, and it was the entrance to the locker room. And he said he stood there and he just looked over on this sea of people, and they were just crying and laughing and hooping and hollering and taking the goal down. And he said I just wanted to absorb it. He said then I go into the tunnel to go to the locker room, and he said those media people, those TV people, they're going to ask me about that touchdown to win the game. He said I need to start getting me an answer prepared. So he's thinking about that, got his helmet off. He's walking in that tunnel. He comes out to the end of the tunnel, and it's the Steelers locker room.
He was like, oops, I'm in enemy's territory.
What are the odds of that? Seriously. That had to been a bummer.
It had to be awkward, him going down there and seeing all the Steelers down there. That's funny.
Yeah, I don't think they interviewed him.
No.
Honestly, that was Greg Pruitt's 8th year as a Cleveland Brown as well. He started off in 7-3 in Cleveland, and then 80. He actually went to 81, and then after 82, he was with the Raiders. So
yeah,
great guy.
That old stadium, all those players. I've interviewed Paul McDonald and Jerk, and all of them have told me that there was 2 levels in the locker room. They call the level the penthouse. All the rookies and all the free agents that were unsigned, that were undrafted, had to be upstairs. Everybody else was downstairs. Everybody else had cubby holes and lockers, hours, and upstairs they had a net, and that's where you put your stuff. And there was a bench, and they said they had a window up there that was cracked, so if it was up there, whereas downstairs it was warm. And what happened is once you were no longer a rookie, then you got invited to come down, and they would prepare you a locker on the lower floor. But that was the transition there, is you got stuck in the penthouse. You were like the special teamer. You were the guy that was drafted that made the team, or you were a rookie. And that's how they separated them. They said upstairs they had showers with no hot water.
Oh, man, that would little rookie hazing.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
They wouldn't do that anymore in the NFL now.
But they included special teamers and undrafted players. So if you were an undrafted player, like Tony Romo was an undrafted player, you would still be stuck up there in the penthouse, because that was just how they viewed it. Now, I did interview Felix Wright. He told me he never went down. He said once they invited him down there, he said, "No, I'm good. These are my guys. These are my teammates. We came in the league at the same time." And I thought that was kind of odd. I would have definitely gone downstairs, because I'll tell you what, raise your hand if you're a fan of hot water.
Me. Definitely me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I cannot take a cold shower. No matter if it's summertime, wintertime, I'm not taking a cold shower. I'm just not.
No.
It's the worst. Yeah, that was a great team.
I'm gonna say
Brian Brian Sipe was MVP of the league that year. I forgot about that.
I think he was MVP 2 years in a row as well. I think.
In 81.
Rutigliano was coach of the year twice in a row.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, you are correct.
Mhm.
Before we get too into facts, I'm gonna pull out facts with an angel because it's cool and
Oh,
everybody
we're
actually
doing that.
thoroughly enjoys it. It's kind of cool. You might be able to still hear it, Barry. I'm pretty sure you will.
Yeah,
it's
I've been hearing him and hearing me, so we might
Yeah.
hear each other.
all right. There's
All
an
right.
intro that plays and then he gets into his stats. But it's fun.
Okay.
Angel does his homework and gets some really cool stats out there and facts. Stats and facts.
Yeah.
That's what we should call it,
fun.
dude. Stats and facts with an
Yeah.
angel.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a Barry type level yet, but it'll be there soon
Yeah.
enough. Barry has a lot of stats and facts.
Yes, absolutely. Again, Barry, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to jump into facts with an angel real quick, and we will be right back. Oh. You're good.
All right, what is up, Brownies? I missed you guys. It's been a couple weeks. I'm just going to be quick because what I have to say is very minimum compared to what the knowledge is inside Barry's head, and I just want to get to it. So, real quick, number one fact. Barry just said it. Brian Sipe was named an NFL MVP during the 1980 season after throwing 4,132 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. That is an incredible stat line, if I say so myself. I've been researching, looking at Browns quarterbacks all week when I was at Disney. For some reason, I became infatuated with it. I started with Otto Graham and worked my way up. And other than Otto Graham, Brian Sipe's year was probably one of the best years I, I've seen in the Browns uniform. He was drafted in the 13th round of the NFL draft. Can you imagine 13 rounds of the NFL draft today and how that would look like? Pretty boring, right? 1980, um, the team had 5 Pro Bowlers that year, and the players were Sipe, Deacon, Pruitt, Tom DeLeon, the center, and Joe. I don't know how to say his last name. DeLamiero. He was the right guard. Yep. Oh, okay. DeLamiere. Mike Pruitt led the team in rushing with 249 rushes for 1,034 yards, 6 touchdowns. He also included 63 catches for 471 yards. David Logan led all receivers with 51 catches at 822 yards and 4 touchdowns. But what's really crazy, and I did not know this, that the Browns corners that year, Ron Bolden and Carl Burrell both had one. Ron Bolton had 6 interceptions, while on the other side, they would call left and right, had 5 interceptions. Together, they had 11. The team had 22 interceptions that year. That is insane. And I thought it was crazy because I'm like, these two people had half of the interceptions the whole team had the whole year. That's it. That's all I have. I kept it quick and simple. Let's get back to Barry because he's cooler than I am.
Yeah. Well, that's in a 16-game season too.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
insane. I'm like, I had to like make sure I was reading that as pro PFP. I'm like, is that right? I'm like, dang, that's insane. 21 interceptions in 16 games. It's crazy.
Man. Hey,
Yeah, that's a lot. That's an absolute lot.
Barry, do you want to hear something funny?
Sure. Always
A-
do.
Angel and I weren't even alive yet in 1980.
No. Wasn't born.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. It's we sure got into some trouble in that playoff game though, didn't we? Against the Houston Texans.
Yes,
I tell
all
you
this
what,
year.
yeah, that first pick six is what set the tone. But when the second possession and they had the second pick six, even though there was like 8 minutes left to go in the third quarter, the game was over.
Yeah.
After they
I
ran back
felt
that
the same
second
way.
pick six, it was the game was completely over because they were on the 34-yard line and only had a 10-point deficit. If they had scored anything, it would be down to one score. That second pick six, they just went to pot from there.
Yeah, they got deflated for sure right after that second pick six. I knew it too. I was like, I went upstairs and played with the kids, and my wife was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not gonna happen this year."
No.
Yeah. You know where pick six came from?
Give it to us. Where? How?
John Madden, Coach John Madden, when he was a telecaster, invented it, and how he got it from it came from horse racing.
Interesting.
Horse racing.
Yeah, you do what's called a pick six. You pick 6 different races. It's called a pick six. It's sort of like if you play the lottery and they might say pick 4, pick 3, whatever. You're picking 3 numbers, and then you might do it for a certain time period. But pick six is a horse racing term that's always been one, and John Madden was always coming up with some kind of term on his own, like boom and doink and
oh yeah,
I remember boom.
He just somebody ran back a point, and he said, "There goes a pick six," and we've been using it ever since.
So pick six could be like a parlay on a bet.
Yeah, it is, and it came from horse racing, but I know state lotteries will use the word pick.
Oh. Oh, he froze.
And those are usually daily.
There we go.
Like the bigger ones.
Mm.
So, but he just spit it out in a telecast, and that's where we get the word pick six from.
It's stuck. I love that. I think it's ingenious, to be honest, but that's something that's in our everyday NFL football vocabulary. So I enjoy it.
Now, obviously, Coach Madden bet on horses at some point in his life, but still came out, and now it's just part of the game, isn't it?
John Madden.
Any game that you watch, I was at a high school game, and the announcer said, "Well, there goes a pick six," so it's all the way down. You just think about it anymore.
That's crazy. So, I do want to touch base on something with you, Barry, because I think you would know about this, and I told Angel about it over the week.
Okay.
I think it was in 1984. Yes, it was 1984 is when, let me see here. Check these notes to be sure. Brian Sipe in 1984 left and signed with the New Jersey Generals, the USFL. USFL.
Yeah.
And that was owned by Donald Trump. But I heard a story, and I think Angel heard a story too, right, about the prostitute that he picked up in Lakewood and got arrested. Angel, do you want to touch more on that?
Yeah, I read. No, this is on the internet, so it cannot be true.
Sipe or Trump?
Sipe. Well, probably both, but we'll go with Sipe first.
Sipe. This one's about Sipe, that he was in Lakewood and got caught with a prostitute. And there's the conspiracy theorists believe that it was a sting brought up by Art Modell's brother to try to keep him here and not go to New Jersey.
Yeah, I think his brother's named David.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All the players loved David. They didn't think much of Art. Art was kind of distant, but all the players loved David.
But did you ever hear anything about that?
So they think that was a conspiracy. No, that's the first I've ever heard of it. So
yeah,
apparently it wasn't much, was it?
No, I mean, I try to find more about it, but obviously because he's a hero, so not too many people are gonna bring it up because he had a great couple years here, so they're not gonna brush it under the rug, but understandably so. But I wanted to see if somebody can confirm that because I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember. I do know that the year before the Browns only went 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But when the new league came in, it was an NFL rival league, and there's been a bunch of NFL rival leagues throughout the history of the NFL. And so, what difference between a rival league and a developmental league is developmental league, they hire players that aren't playing in the NFL or the CFL, because the CFL plays the second most. But if a rival league, they go after players and coaches and draft picks. So the USFL back in they started in '83, and they went after players. And so whether they were under contract or not, they signed someone. Of course, Sipe was a seasoned veteran by that time. Didn't matter where he was drafted anymore, and he was with one of the league's most recognized franchises. So if you take a quarterback from somebody like that, and then the Generals had Herschel Walker, so of course Sipe would want. And another thing, what these rival leagues do is they pay a lot more. So I bet Sipe was making about 88,000, is what I'm going to guess, for a season. And what if they offered him 125,000?
Yeah.
On a 3-year deal. So, $750,000 of $1 million was a lot of money back then.
Oh yeah.
Now it's just above the NFL minimum with incentives.
I take
But back
88
then,
grand a year.
yeah. Well, Angel may give you that,
Yeah, I
and if
may.
you're
Once I get
replaced,
it.
it's gonna be a female, I guarantee you.
You know what else is a crazy fact, and it's not existent anymore, is that we were in the AFC Central Division.
That
Yeah.
blew my mind when I saw that. When I
There's
saw that lineup of teams, I told, for some reason, it's one of those things I forgot. And when I saw it, I'm like,
Yeah,
dang, that actually happened.
Even in '99 when we
yeah,
came back, we were still in the Central Division. That didn't implode on itself until what, 2006 or something like that.
yeah. When they realigned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Browns are the only team that has not won the AFC North. They have never won it.
Nope.
Yikes.
Yeah, Paul, the old
Ever-
AFC Central. We dominated for years in the AFC Central, but
Maybe we
Okay.
should bring it back.
yeah,
Can I tell you how that division was formed?
absolutely.
Okay. Well, the biggest rivalry would have to be the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Browns invited the Steelers to join them. That's how they got together. So the league merged in 1970. The AFL had 10 teams and the NFL had 16 teams. And when they came to an agreement in 1967, they told the AFL that they would bring in all 10 teams instead of leaving some of them out to fold, and that everything would be unionized and together, and everything would be as a group. 26 teams. Well, at first, when they met for the owners' meeting, they had all 16 NFL teams in the NFC, and they had all 10 AFC teams in the AFC. And Paul Brown, who was coach and owner of the Bengals, said, "Oh, no. You said everything would be equal, and now you've got 16 teams over here and 10 over here." So Pete Rozelle, the commissioner, said, "All right, so 3 NFL teams have to move over." Well, they hated each other. The NFL owners hated the AFL owners because they drove up player salaries for 6 years. And the AFL owners, like especially Al Davis, hated the NFL owners because they were bullies for 5-6 years. So nobody wanted to switch. So the Colts owner finally said, "Okay, I will go if you can guarantee me that Joe Namath and New York Jets will be in the same division." They said, "Done." So now you've got one NFL team moving over. All right. Art Modell got sick and he ended up in the hospital
Good.
while
I'm sorry.
all these negotiations. Yeah, where all these negotiations were going over. Art Rooney was one of his best friends. So was Wellington Mara of the Giants. When he was in the hospital, he reached out his hand to Art Rooney and said, if you, my friend, I will move over if you move over with me. And Rooney, thinking his friend was going to die or something, agreed to that. So here the Steelers and the Browns moved from the NFL to the AFC. Now, at the time, this is what Art Modell saw. He saw the Steelers were always, always, always one of the worst teams in the league. Ever since they came in 1933, they had 2 winning seasons. Okay. So he saw the Steelers as a weak team. The next team was the Houston Oilers. They were always crappy. So that was going to be in their division. And then the Cincinnati Bengals was an expansion team of the AFL. Well, we know what expansion teams are. They suck. They suck for a long time.
1999.
So all right. So this was 1970. The 1969 NFL championship game was the Minnesota Vikings versus the Cleveland Browns. Minnesota won, went to Super Bowl III and lost to the Chiefs 16-7. So Modell had gone to the NFL championship, and he was looking at weak team, weak team, weak team. I'm going to dominate this for years, for a decade. Well, what happened was the Bengals hired Bill Walsh to be their offensive coordinator. The Oilers drafted Earl Campbell. And the year before, the Pittsburgh Steelers had hired Chuck Noll. Chuck Noll in 69, Chuck Noll started drafting guys. He started seeing guys like Mean Joe Green and Terry Bradshaw. Whereas before, they just read in the paper this guy was a good guy and they drafted him. And so that's how the Browns got in with the Steelers, is Art Modell invited them and offered and thought he was going to be a dominant participant. Because otherwise, before that, the Browns rivalries forever since 1950 was the New York Giants. Every year it was the Giants and the Browns in the Western Eastern Division, and it was the Lions and the Rams in the Western Division.
That
Sometimes
quick.
the Redskins. Yeah. So
well, until Barry comes back, I don't know what happened. He's froze.
The Browns rival.
There he is.
That rival.
We lost it for a sec, Barry. Are you there?
Browns together.
There you are. Oh,
he's freezing.
and it's gone.
And
Crap.
he lost signal. See, that's what you. Oh, he's back.
He is back. I got him. Hold on, Barry. You
He's
are
there.
back. You there, Barry?
Hey, next time you bring me back, can you show all of this like full of money or something? Just stacks and stacks of it.
We got you.
I wish.
All the way. Yeah.
Did you guys know who our defensive coordinator was in 1980? This is another little fun fact. Anybody know?
It was probably Schottenheimer.
It was
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer.
Because after Sipe left, then the Browns started 1-7, and Rutigliano got fired.
Yep.
Schottenheimer took over from that point, and then he was head coach for the next 4 years. Schottenheimer, I don't think he had a winning record. I think he evened out. But the next 4 years, he never had a losing record, and went to the playoffs all 4 years. Can I tell you how he left?
Schottenheimer?
Mm-hmm.
I watched a documentary on him, and I sent it to you, Angel.
Oh, I don't think I've watched that yet, but go ahead.
I got it from the horse's mouth.
Oh.
That's an idiom, by the way. At the time, the GM was Ernie Accorsi. Ernie Accorsi had drafted John Elway when he was the GM of the Baltimore Colts, and now he was the GM of the Browns, and then later he was GM of the Giants when he worked out that Eli Manning trade. But in my interview with him, I asked him, I said, how did Schottenheimer was head coach for 4 years. They went to the playoffs 4 years. They went to the AFC Championship twice. Why did Modell let him go? And of course, he told me, he said, this is probably the biggest mistake I've ever made as a GM. What happened was when they lost to the Oilers in 1988, 24-23, in a game that they were winning, Art Modell thought there needed to be some changes in the coaching staff. And one was Schottenheimer's brother, who was on the Browns coaching staff on the offensive side. Modell wanted him to fire him, and then Schottenheimer said, no, you're not messing with my coaching staff. That is my decision. That is a head coach's job, and that is within my realm. And they were back and forth. Well, what happened was Modell, the next day after they lost to the Oilers, requested a meeting with Schottenheimer. Accorsi was labeled to relay that message. Schottenheimer was fixing to go to Jamaica or some Caribbean island for 2 weeks with his family. They were packed and ready. And of course, he said, if I had just told Schottenheimer to leave and we want to talk to you when you got back, he said, I honestly believe that Schottenheimer would have been the coach in 1989 instead of Bud Carson going forward.
Wow.
He said, then hotter heads would have receded. He said, but instead I told him, hey, Art wants to see you. Then they got into the meeting and he wasn't fired. He didn't resign. They just said, well, I'm not going to fire him. You know, I'm not going to fire my brother. And he said, well, then I don't think you should be coaching. He said, all right, cool. He left. And I think in 2 days he was head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs.
And he did well there.
That
but
came from, of course, he's
excuse me. I am a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, except when it comes to the Browns. I'm sure we can all agree on that.
That is true.
Did you invent the Browns as the Browns?
No, I did not.
No,
That was Pittsburgh Steeler. We're not going to talk about that guy. No, okay. Who was that?
Was it
Browns is the Browns.
Juju, right?
It was Smith Schuster. I don't think was it.
I'm thinking it was. Was it? I'm trying to think who was it on that year.
It might have been.
Juju was the talker.
Yeah, there's a Browns group on Facebook called Browns is the Browns.
I have not seen that, but I will check that out after the show. That is for sure.
Browns is the Browns.
All right. Well, we are going to take a really quick break, and we will come back. We are well overdue for a break. I usually try to do them every 20 minutes to a half an hour or so, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You going to stick around, Barry?
Yeah, I will.
All right. We will be right back. What is up, everybody? Mike Wilkes here from the Bearded Browns podcast, letting you know that we're going to be working with Mistakes on the Lake Clothing. They have everything you need. Why not check them out? If you want to go to their store, it's 4542 Liberty Avenue in beautiful Vermilion, Ohio. You want to contact them? Their phone number is 440-670-3145. They have everything from Cleveland to Columbus gear. They have Lake Erie gear. Why not check it out? It's all great stuff you can get for your wife, your kids, your newborn. They even have onesies, shirts that say good moms and dads don't raise Michigan fans, just Ohio stuff, and it's awesome. So be sure to check them out. They have everything you need. Even the candles, custom coasters, can koozies, wine tumblers, phone grips, everything, stickers. It is awesome. Check them out. Do not be the mistake on a lake and regret this decision. Go and check them out.
Browns have not had a punt returner since.
Oh, we are back, and Barry is still on Browns talk. I love this guy.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
asked me who my favorite player was, and I let him know Eric Metcalf and Bernie always seem to have my heart because that's
Every-
when growing up. That's what I think of when I think of the Browns. I think of them too specifically.
Everybody, really quick, we have Barry Shuck on the show. Again, you could check him out at www.dogsbynature.com. Great work, great writer, all about the Cleveland Browns. Face-to-face interviews with him as well. He was on 92.3 The Fan last 2 weeks ago. Was that 2 weeks?
Saturday.
Saturday. I thought it was Sunday because what's his name is on Sunday. But be sure to check him out.
No,
And also go to www.mistakesonalake.com. Check them out. They're a sponsor of ours. They got great merch. Everything from Cleveland to Ohio State, like I say in the ad. Comfortable shirts. They gave us some flack roll around and find out shirts, Barry. And
Yeah.
they're awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
Very comfortable.
And check out CB Excavating. Chris will take care of all your excavating needs there as well. Barry, you are the man, the myth, and the legend. And again, we want to thank you for being on the show tonight with us.
Are you calling my ex-wife and telling her that?
Absolutely not.
We can.
That's $10 extra.
Yeah, I got you. All right.
But be sure to check out Barry's site. There's a lot of knowledgeable information on there. The guy really does his homework as well. And it's great writing. It's not super long. It's right to the point, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's why he's on the show tonight. Check him out.
Very kind words. Got an interview with Michael Dean Perry. I think it's coming up tomorrow. If not, it'll be on Friday.
You're a lucky man. I think we just became new best friends. Angel.
Yeah. I'm kind of that's crazy. You interviewed Michael Dean Perry, and I just think of his massiveness.
Yeah.
There's a story behind that. Can I tell you?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I've called Michael Dean Perry twice for an interview, and I told him I'm a positive writer, and he turned me down twice. And I'm cool with that. I talked to Frank Menafield on the phone, and he said, "Look, I'm busy. I don't have time. Blah blah blah." I don't call people back and bug them about it, but I'm a member of the Professional Football Researchers Association, and every year you can nominate and vote and induct guys in the game that weren't great players, but they were really good players. And it's a secondary hall called the Hall of Very Good. And Michael Dean Perry was nominated. I voted for him, and it came out that he was going to be inducted this year. Clay Matthews and Mark Bavaro were Browns that were inducted last year, and there's all kind of Browns that have been inducted. And so I used that as my lead in. I called him back up. He answered the phone, and I said, "Hey, you've been inducted into the Hall of Very Good. Just want to get your response." And he told me. And so I had questions ready. I already had my questions, because when I do questions, I research, because I don't know where he went to high school. I didn't know that he played basketball and he was a shot putter in high school until I do the research. And so once he told me, I came back with a question that was kind of similar. And before you know it, I was 20 questions deep.
Wow. That's some Jedi mind trick there.
Yeah, I was gonna say you caught him on a whim. Like
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And not that he's a rude guy. He's not. He's a great guy. He is very well spoken. He likes, and I've noticed most of these older guys, once they start talking about their playing days, they open up. They want to talk about it. So it was kind of weird that talking to him twice. Now, there's one thing, like I called up Anthony Walker and wanted to talk about it. He's got an injury. He doesn't want to talk about it. He don't want to talk anything because I'm going to ask him about an injury, which is what you should do. I mean, he's hurt. Like Nick Chubb is hurt. If I did talk to him, which I don't have any contact information, I would ask him, "How is your rehab going?" Because I want to know.
Yeah.
As not just a writer, but as a fan. I want to know if you're going to be ready for training camp or ready for week 1, or is it going to be week 9, or what? So to be turned down for an interview like that, not just once but twice, I just had to go that angle with him. And once he started talking about the Browns and started talking about Pro Bowls, because I tell you what, he's got Michael Dean Perry's got 6 Pro Bowls. Well, if you look at all the defensive tackles in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the most any of them have is 5.
Weird.
So why isn't Michael Dean Perry being nominated? He's never been nominated. Now, Clay Matthews was nominated, I think, 10 years, and they finally took him off the list. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
But
that's confusing for me too. After I did a player spotlight where I look at stats and stuff and I post it on my page, and I'm just sitting there looking at his career. I'm like, how is he? Even people are like, when I underneath the picture, they're like, how is he not in the hall? I'm like, it's so weird that he's not in the hall.
absolutely. And then somebody like Devin Hester gets in. I mean, all
Mind
Devin
blowing.
Hester was a punt return guy. So I don't understand that. But Michael Dean Perry was 6 Pro Bowls, and he was first team All Pro a couple of years, second team All Pro a couple of years. But 6 Pro Bowls is a lot. It's an absolute lot. And how he's not being nominated and voted for the Pro, but he's in the Hall of Very Good. That's what we talked about. That was my lead in. That's how I got in with him, and that was the end of it. And anybody that played before the new Browns formed in 1999, I asked stuff like, tell me something about the old stadium that but I may not know. And other than money, how's the NFL changed since you played? Those all have a variety of variants of answers that come out of each player. Each player, when asked those 2 questions, will tell you something different each time.
Absolutely.
And as a fan, that's interesting to me.
So as a fan today, I think it's completely different than it was back in the day.
Certainly.
I'm sure you could agree on that, Angel. Just watching videos from back in the day and hearing the stadium, like I said, I've been watching videos on 1980, and that stadium, Municipal Stadium, was going crazy. Even for a extra point, they went crazy after an extra point was kicked. After an extra point's kicked nowadays, everybody just sits around, whether it be a game-winning extra point or just a regular extra point in the first quarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. Did they have the nets? Did they have the nets then for the extra points?
There was some kind of weird net, and it didn't always catch the ball from what it looked like.
Okay.
3 balls for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a different time, obviously, and that's why me and Angel and myself like to go back, and because we are diehard Browns fans, we were born and raised that way.
Okay.
You were, Angel, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And Angel, explain your fandom. Hold on 1 second. Barry, how I met Angel is his reels on Facebook were all about Cleveland Browns stuff. And I started doing this podcast on a whim by myself, and it was horrible. I'm sure everybody could agree to that.
Okay.
And I had messaged Angel and say, hey, dude, I'm getting this podcast going on, and I think you're a great fit for the show. If you want to jump in on a show, let's try it out, see where it goes.
Okay.
And this is, I think, our 3rd or 4th month in.
Yeah.
And we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, we're growing pretty quick on Facebook and YouTube. No, yeah, my fandom, my shtick got ruined this year because they were good. But my wife used to, in my reels, used to make fun of me after every game, and used to do like Browns jokes. But now I'm like, man, I gotta switch it up now because they're actually winning, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, I love the Browns. Like my girls and my wife always say every Sunday, they're like, they're gonna lose. But I'm like, not this year. And until this year, I'm like, oh crap, they're right. But yeah, I watch the games by myself. I'm yelling, screaming, cheering.
Yeah.
Passionate. I blame my dad. He ended up actually moving to Chicago and became a Cubs fan over the
Okay.
last 8 years. But yeah, he
Yeah.
used to watch the Browns, Bernie Kosar, Webster Slaughter. I mean,
Mm.
all that. I have vivid memories in my mind that whenever Webster Slaughter would get the touchdown and him and who was that?
Hmm.
Langhorn. Yeah, would do that.
Yeah.
Oh
Reggie
man.
Langhorne.
Yeah,
Yep.
that jump,
Yeah.
high five.
He sells trucks today.
Probably sells a lot of them.
Oh, he's also the uniform cop at Browns games. Him and Felix Wright. One does one sideline, the other one does the other sideline. They're the uniform cops.
No way.
Do you
I
know
did
what
not
that
know
is?
that. They make sure everything's
Yeah,
up to par.
they have a list. Yeah, they have a list of things that you can and cannot do, and the way it was explained to me is that Felix Wright did it for the longest time by himself, and then he asked Reggie to do it. They come up to a player and say, "Hey, you know, do this. Your socks, blah blah blah. Do this and correct it." And if they don't correct it, then all they do is just report it, and then the NFL fines them like $7,500. But
Yeah.
Felix Wright told me, he said, I come up to a guy and said, "Look, I told you to do it. You're still not doing it. They're going to fine you $7,500. So if you continue to do it, why don't you just take that $7,500 and give it to your mom and dad or your brother or your cousin? Because the NFL is going to take it and they're not going to give it back.
No.
So just do what I asked you to do, and then you won't have your money taken from you."
Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah. So
Uh,
every stadium has two uniform cops, and they're all former players.
to make sure another bottle gate's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do a story on that.
We're going to bring that year up because so what we're doing is normally what we do is after every game on Tuesday, that way we can stay up to date with injury updates and everything else.
Yeah.
We go
Right.
live on Tuesdays around 7:30. That's been our thing as of lately. Even during the off season, we're going to try to bring up past years and talk about those. That's our niche, and
Yeah.
that's what we're going to go for. It's fun, and it brings Angel and I into a part of existence where we weren't existing. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it's kind of cool to go back into a fandom part of
Yeah.
Browns football where we weren't even a thought yet.
Yeah. I was 9 years old when the Beatles broke up, but as an adult, I found the Beatles.
Huh.
I just remember my sister was gaga about it. I didn't know anything about it. I was still playing with GI Joes, I believe.
Mm.
So I understand what y'all say about seasons past, because none of us saw Jim Brown play.
Mm,
We just seen the videos.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of videos.
Yeah, a man among boys. So what do y'all think about Stefanski and Andrew Barry getting contract extensions?
I hope they do get contract extensions. I agree to the part where you brought up earlier in the show about his play calling, but I think he's been the best coach since '99. I mean, I can't think of any
Mm-hmm.
one in particular that sticks out. Since the new Browns have been here, he's been consistent. Sure, he can work on his play calling, but I think, and I brought this up plenty of times, the culture is changed. I mean, it's not the same old Browns anymore. Now they're getting free agents here who are not going to rip them off, who are coming here to want to play, and I think
Right.
that's very encouraging. I love Barry. I think that dude's super intelligent. The fact that he can manipulate. You talked about it earlier
Yeah.
about the being able to manipulate and know the rules of how to handle the money, and I think he's one of the best at it. And I think we'll see it again this year of how he's going to move that money around and get players in here.
Yeah. They're both in their last year of their contracts, of their deals.
Yeah, it would be silly for
So
the Haslam's not to do anything with that.
I
yeah,
agree.
there's been a report, and we reported it on Dogs by Nature. Um, our producer Jared Mueller reported that according to Haslam, they're looking to lock them up with new extensions real soon, and it reportedly going to be matching 5-year deals.
Nice.
Because they both performed well to execute a playoff push. With all the dissension and all the injuries, I have never seen a team that had so many injuries at so many positions. I mean, all of a sudden this week, our leading tackler, Grant Delpit, is out for the year.
Right,
Yeah.
right after they gave him an extension too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's Cleveland luck.
3 starting offensive tackles are out for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do that? You're starting quarterback and the rookie backup in the same year. So there was just so much adversary that had to be overcome this year. And in the end, one guy won comeback player of the year, and Stefanski and Schwartz won coaches of the year. So somebody must have noticed that we were doing something right.
Yeah. I also not only this year, but Kevin has dealt with a lot of drama since coming here, from COVID to Odell and Baker, their receiving issues with Landry and them. They seem to not like each other. I mean, he's always had some type of headache
Right.
every year. I would like to see what it would be like for him not to have a headache or a situation pop up and
Yeah.
run a good year without any issues, and see what he would do with it.
And actually, Angel
Yeah.
said it best a couple weeks ago, and he said Stefanski is handcuffed because, like I said, you got your first stringers out there that are so used to playing with this playbook. They go out there and they adapt to it, and they run the same plays week in and week out. And then you got to throw second and third stringers out there that aren't running these same playbook. They're running the same playbook, but it's limited to an extent. And I think that, like Angel said, he's been handcuffed. Stefanski's been handcuffed with the players that have to come out, whether it be a second, third stringer or a guy out the practice squad. He made a great point by saying that he's handcuffed, and that's exactly what it is. And for him to overcome all the obstacles that he was dealt with this year, I think that was huge, and he deserved Coach of the Year by far. I mean, does anybody disagree?
Yeah.
No, you won 11 games with 19 of your starters done for the year. You won 11 games. That is, to me, is crazy. And not only that, you kept that playoff game kind of close if it wasn't for the 2 interceptions like we brought up earlier. But, I just want to see him flow with some good luck. Give us some good luck next year. We have the hardest schedule to play, so hopefully we can win some games and shut some haters up.
Yeah. Well, look at the IR list for the Browns this year. It's like an all-star game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like an all-star team. Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, Grant Delpit, Jakeem Grant never returned anything. Mo Hurst, DeJuan Jones, safety Rodney McLeod, middle linebacker Anthony Walker, Deshaun Watson, Jed Wills. I mean, how much of a nucleus is that? That's huge. And then you got backup players like Drew Forbes and Michael Woods, and DTR. Jacob Phillips, I don't think he's going to be back on the team, but he never saw the field this year, but he's still a backup player. So look at how many guys were on IR and when Nick Chubb went down, I just looked at somebody and said, well, there goes the season.
Yeah. I think 99%, 100% of fans thought that too. I thought that the same way. I'm like, there's no way they're going to make the playoffs. But I noticed that culture, they just is like next man up. And I know that sounds so cliche, which it is. It's a cliche term, but that mentality, that culture of next man up, next man up, next man up, actually was great this year. And it proved them, it pushed them, literally propelled them. I mean, they were playing an XFL quarterback. Fans were complaining about Kevin when he was playing it. He was playing a guy that was playing in XFL. I was confused by these fans.
Mm-hmm. Well, even look at Christian Guerin, the left offensive tackle. He was on the Houston Texans practice squad until October 12th, and they released him. Then the Browns just picked him up, and the next thing you know, 7 days later, he's starting left tackle for the Cleveland Browns in the National Football League.
Yep.
He
So
did pretty
they
decent too.
yeah, he did. And you take James Hudson, who we drafted, he was horrible,
Horrible.
but we couldn't get away from that. As long as DeJuan Jones was playing and Guerin was playing, they were holding together pretty well.
Yeah.
But once we started having to use Hudson and kind of rely on him, and nobody else had outside tackle experience. Michael Dunn didn't. Drew Forbes did, but he got hurt. Drew Forbes had played some left tackle in college. So that really hurt them that they didn't have backup tackle. The only one they had was, I forget what his name was, but they had somebody on as a backup tackle. I think his name was Watson, Leroy Watson. We only had 3 tackles at the end for the Texans game.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And all of them were backups or were practice squad players. So that was our offensive tackle situation. And we still won 11 games and play in a playoff game.
And that, you know what, Barry, that's why I want to say this year's team was almost like the 1980s Kardiac kids. We had a couple close games where it got intense. The Baltimore game up by a field goal. Like, thank God we didn't have Cade York for that.
And by the way, that was the difference between last year and this year is the 3 points. If you would have had Hopkins last year, I think we would have made the playoffs for sure last year.
Yeah, possibility, but he missed a lot.
Right.
But I almost want to compare. I put a post on Facebook and I actually asked, do you guys think this year was similar to the Kardiac kids, 1980? Not 1979, but 1980, because Brian Slipe was the one guy that had 17 last-minute games through 79 and 80. To see that and to see this year.
Came back.
What's that?
And came back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've come back. We've dealt with so much more adversity than we did in 1980. I heard there was an actual in 1980. I did hear there was a big celebration that injured a couple players at once. Do you recall that?
No.
I guess there was a big celebration and injured like 4 players. I wonder what they were doing. I couldn't find anything else on it.
After which game?
I couldn't even figure that out. But it said there was an article, and I was driving, and I shouldn't have been trying to drive and read, but I was doing that at work, and I seen that it said 4 players injured during celebration, and I'm like, man, maybe that's why coaches, don't today tell them to celebrate too hard. But you got people like Jim Schwartz telling these guys, the defense to celebrate hardcore when you make a big play. I like that, and I don't.
And help each other up. Rush over to help each other up.
Yeah, that goes. Yeah. That should go without saying.
Yeah. Well, this year's team started out 2-2, and the 1980 team started out 0-2, and then 3-2. So neither one of them started out really well. And this year's team also beat both the AFC number 1 seed and the NFC number 1 seed.
Yep.
During the season.
And they did it. They beat Baltimore, and they were down by 2 touchdowns.
That was incredible.
That was probably Watson's best game before. I mean, obviously he got injured, but
that was his best game.
Yeah, it was his best game.
That and the Indianapolis game were great games to watch.
Yeah, heart attack. The Indianapolis game was a heart attack, but yeah, I mean all games seem to be heart attack.
And to be fair to the 49ers, once McCaffrey went down and the Deebo Samuel went down, their offense just went, oh, what do we do now?
All right.
Yeah, that did help, and the guy missing the field goal, Moody, helped too. By the way, no one is talking about the extra. They're talking about
the offense.
No, Kyle Shanahan's Super Bowl where how he should have kicked the ball, not received. And they're not talking about the guy missing the extra point. If you would have made the extra point, you would have been in the freaking overtime to begin with.
Isn't that a rookie kicker as well?
Yeah, he's a rookie from Michigan, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. Good old Michigan.
He had a good season.
He did.
Yeah, I went in the fourth quarter when they announced that you could go online and vote for MVP. I went online and voted for Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Chiefs. He kicked 4 field goals.
Yeah.
One was a 57-yarder, which was a Super Bowl record. Then another was a 55-yarder. When I voted, I was vote number 4.
Huh.
How can they? I don't think. I mean, maybe they
I mean,
can't give it to a kicker, but I don't.
he scored 12 out of
Uh,
19 points
he
when they went to
scored.
overtime. I was vote number 4.
That's
That's insane.
yeah. He deserves that.
No love for the little guys.
No,
It's a kicker.
true heroes. No love.
So yeah, like you were talking about, Barry, we lost the two
What's that?
games, and then we won against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
The next week, we lost to the Denver Broncos 16-19, and then
Oh,
we
we
went on a
lost in
5-game winning streak. Lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-16. This is in 1980.
Oh, I thought you said that's
Sorry.
weird because we lost to Denver too this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I say
Every year.
it's kind of fitting.
Mm.
Then we
Yeah,
lost
yeah.
to the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-16. We beat the Bengals 31-7. We beat the Oilers 17-14. All close games, and these are these games Brian Sipe is winning in the last few drives. You know what I mean? New York Jets we beat 17-14. Then we lost against the Minnesota Vikings, and that
Yeah.
what almost
that
lost
game,
us the division. So we had to win that Cincinnati game, and we
That
did
game they were up to, and Minnesota came back on that game to beat us.
with
On
the
the road.
last second.
Yeah,
On the
on a
road.
yeah.
Yep. And then
Yeah,
we beat the
on the
Bengals
road.
27-24. Man,
Yeah, it's strange to look back and see teams that used to be in another place, like the Baltimore Colts and the Houston
Yeah.
Oilers.
yeah,
Those Oilers uniforms are special though, man.
they were
Yeah.
amazing.
They're
I'm not gonna
special
lie.
uniforms.
You know what I
When
heard
the
today?
AFL, what's that?
I heard today that they're going to start selling all Browns tickets with a Surgeon General warning ticket on them. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Heart attack.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
just,
got you.
bringing back the
Alright,
cardiac kids.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Every
yeah,
ticket
yeah,
comes with a Surgeon General's warning.
yeah. Do they even sell paper tickets anymore?
I don't
No.
think so.
Isn't it all on your phone?
It's
Yep.
all mobile, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, actually, I guess at the Cleveland Browns Stadium, they had the facial recognition, so you could just walk in
Wow.
Wow.
if you're like a season ticket
That's
holder.
insane.
So
That's
what
insane.
happens if you're Pumpkinhead?
You got to take it off for a minute,
Take it
man. You
off.
got to reveal yourself.
Or you just take the picture with the pumpkin on your head and they just
Yeah,
scan it.
he does that. His name is Gus. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he takes his pumpkin off. He actually sees through the mouth, but he's that contraption on his head is a work of art.
That
He's got
is
lights
that thing is
inside of it.
dope.
So in my interview with him, I asked him some weird questions because like he's a season ticket holder. So that means that if we're all season ticket holders, we all know each other through Browns games, which means we go to the same concessions, we get the same beer vendor, and we go to the same restroom, correct?
Yep.
Well, if you're waddling up to the urinal, I asked him, I said, what do you do? Say, here, hold my head? To the guy next to me.
Oh my.
Oh,
You'll freak somebody out. But what?
What
What'd
do
you
you do?
say?
What do you do when you go take a piss? I mean, here, hold my head. And then 2 signs that he takes everywhere. And the Browns invite him to all kind of stuff. They'll have a draft party and they'll have all these former players. And they invite Pumpkinhead and he brings his 2 sons. And so I asked him, I said, okay, I'm a dude, you're a dude. Was either one of your sons conceived in the head?
oh man, this is a good
And
night.
after, I asked him all kind of questions like
Mm.
that, and we asked, and he told me it was a great interview. So I said thank you, and we moved along. That can be archived if you want to go to Dogs by Nature, Pumpkinhead. It'll come right up.
Absolutely.
And when I interviewed the Macho Fan, you ever seen him?
Yeah.
Okay, I interviewed him not as who he really is. in his everyday life, but I interviewed him as his character.
Mm.
So his character is, hey, what you doing? Yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. And that was all his answers. See, I said, hey, if one of my questions, hey, if you and Pumpkinhead got in a wrestling match, what would happen? Well, I would just take that head off, and I would match him in the head, and I would go like this. Yeah, okay, yeah, oh yeah.
That is
And
awesome.
that's what I did. Is I interviewed him as his character, and I asked him that beforehand, because he's always in character. If you come up to him and say something to him, he doesn't come out of character at all, ever.
That's
So
a lot of practice because I probably eventually fall out of character. I'll get like,
it's a lot of dedication.
yeah,
Especially after a couple
dedication.
beers, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's in the I think he's right outside the dog pound in one of those lower bowl wings.
Yeah, off to the
That's
right or the
kinda like
left.
yeah.
Yeah.
If if you're on the 50-yard line and you're looking at the dog pound, it'll be over there on the right-hand side on the lower bowl. It's where he has his season tickets. Now, John Big Dog Thompson, he still has season tickets, but he doesn't go in character anymore. He doesn't go. He retired the mask. He retired the big bone. He's got front row on the dog pound, and that's where it all got started. Was he had seats on the other end, and back then in old Municipal Stadium, they had the field crammed up to the center field fence, but if you were behind home plate in a Browns game, there was like 40 yards to the edge of the end zone. And they were horrible seats. But if you were in an Indians game, it was right behind home plate, and they were great seats.
Great.
But he had seats there, and he had one. He was trying to get a second, and they wouldn't. I think he couldn't get one. He paid $17.90 a seat at the west end zone, or that end zone. When he got on seat day, he picked two in the front of the dog pound, which wasn't the dog pound then. It was called the bleacher section, and he got two for $7 each.
I would
That's what he
gladly pay
paid.
that.
$7 per game times two, and he still has them. He just retired the mask, and he told me he was up to 545 pounds, and he's a little less than 300 now.
Wow.
And this new stadium,
That's
I got to
good.
build him his own seat. It's only fair.
Yeah, and he told me he pays $125 a seat now, which is cheap. It's real cheap. You ever gone to a Browns game? You know that's cheap.
Yeah, I was just talking to my buddy the other day. He's got season tickets, and I think I want to say he spends $250 a month. He's on like a monthly plan, and it's $250
Okay.
a month throughout the year, and he gets his
How many
season
seats?
tickets. I think it's 7 games.
Yeah. How many seats?
3.
Oh, that's
No,
not
right
bad.
So yeah, it's not super bad. The seats aren't bad either.
Are
I
they in the
usually get
lower
my-
bowl?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I usually get my tickets from my neighbor because he owns a company, and people give him tickets all the time. And he's like, "I'm not going. I'm not going to spend the money. Here you go." And I'm like, "I'll spend the
Yeah.
money."
Yeah. Right on.
Sold.
Yeah.
Right. Free tickets. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Those nosebleed seats are hard to take though. They are so up there.
The second
Yeah.
bowl isn't bad. That's where
No,
me and my
second
wife
bowl's
sat
great.
in the dog pound
Yeah.
on the first row of the second bowl for the
Okay.
Cincinnati game, and those were actually good tickets. We were a little off to
Yeah.
the right, but
Mhm.
they weren't bad at all.
Yeah, end zone seats are a little tough because if the ball is coming towards you, you see a lot of action, but there's no depth perception if it's from the 50 going the other direction.
Right.
Now in hockey behind the net, best seat in the house.
Absolutely agree.
Closer
I
down
love
you can
hockey.
get to the ice. Yeah, closer you can get down on the ice, the better. But in football, there's no depth perception. A guy could run, and you think that it's a 7-yard gain, and he got 25 yards.
Right.
So
All right. Well, we're going to begin to close up the show. Angel, is there anything else you wanted to touch base with?
No, this was great. This was such a wonderful experience, to be honest with you. just love hearing all this news, all the history and all the facts.
And
Yeah.
Barry, we would definitely love to have you back as well. That'd be great.
That I enjoyed being with you. Let me give you a football idiom before I go.
Yeah.
Every time you have me on, I'm going to give you an idiom.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'm going to give you today is the Wildcat formation.
Hmm.
So we know this is part of football when a team gets in what they call the Wildcat. Well, this is an offensive strategy that really is a variation of the ages old single wing formation. But the difference is they trot out a running back generally, sometimes a kick returner, but they trot out a running back to be behind the snap, and it comes directly to the running back. Sometimes the quarterback's on the field. Most of the time, they spread them out wide. When the ball comes directly to the running back, then he just picks the hole that opens up, and there's no handoff there. Well, this was invented by a high school coach in 1998. His name was Hugh Wyatt. Now, Wyatt was the head coach of La Center High School, located in Washington State, in which his high school coach, their team name was called the
Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Yes, I got it
Wow.
right.
That is a fun
That's
fact
why.
with Barry Shuck, ladies
There
and
you
gentlemen.
see. We need to have his own fun facts segment. Just pop in and then pop out.
Right.
Fun facts with Barry.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is awesome. That was in 1998.
Yeah, see, nice.
1998. Now it ended up in college because somebody that worked with Wyatt, then it ended up somebody in the NFL saw it. Where it got it popularized was that one game where the Miami Dolphins killed the New England Patriots with Ronnie Brown as the running back, and then everybody went, "Whoa, what is this?" And somebody said,
We got to use
Wildcat.
that.
Angel's a wildcat. Meow.
Yeah.
We did that a lot. We did that a lot with Josh Cribbs, right? Wildcat with Cribbs.
Yes.
We need a punt returner bad.
We need Cribbs.
I was so sad to see Jakeem Grant get hurt twice in a year because he is a great punt returner, but you can't pay somebody to be on IR 2 years in a row and expect something to happen of it. Well, dudes, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with y'all.
Thank you again,
Thank
Barry.
you.
Again, you guys could check him out at dogsbynature.com. If you're a real fan of Cleveland Browns, you know how to spell dogs. It's DAWGS by nature.com. Check him out. He's a great writer. Again, check out our sponsors. They will not disappoint. And if you guys want, just comment in here of what year we should do next week or 2 weeks. I don't know if we're going to do weekly or bi-weekly now, but Angel and I will figure that out.
Yes.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us. This was a amazing experience, Barry. Thank you for all your knowledge and input on not only today's news, but also 1980 and other years as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. We will touch base with you soon, and I'll give you my phone number as well. I know you sent me yours earlier. I'll send that to you, and we can just conversate that way. It'll make things a little bit easier than everything else. But
True that.
Thank you again.
Stay warm.
Absolutely. Oh, did he leave?
Yep, he straight bounced.
Barry is gone.
Yeah, that was so much. What did you record before the podcast started?
I was a minute in.
Okay, good.
So
Because he was just pounding some cool stuff, man. That could be like an extra clip that we can just post. Because that was some cool stuff that he was talking about.
We are back to our main screen now. So here, I'm going to put our merch link up here. There, you could check out our merch store. Today, we have a sale on a shirt for $15 only. And it is this shirt right here. $15 only. I'm going to probably keep that up till tomorrow morning because I guess there's issues right now with the merch store because, you know, we have to have an issue during every podcast.
It will not be a podcast without an issue.
Right. Also, I came across this, and Angel, you can't see this, but I sent this to you. We see that our subscribers on YouTube are 23.1% that are watching and subscribed. Not subscribed is 76.9% of you people. So, I mean, that helps us out a bunch, guys. please just help us out and subscribe when you get a chance. That's huge. And then be sure to follow us on YouTube. You can click the link right there and follow us on YouTube as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. Angel, again, thank you, man. You are the man. I love doing the show with you. You always make it a lot better than it was by myself, for sure.
Yeah, that was a real fun one, man. That was a lot of info.
Yeah, that was. We're going to have him back on again. I think it was definitely very informative. There's some stuff that we didn't even know. Oh, Angel just left. Is he going to come back, or is it me by myself now?
What's going on?
Oh man, we're just getting kicked off. Everybody but me is getting kicked off.
Jeez, I'm here. Okay, I see. Okay,
You are here, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great show. Thank you guys for joining us and commenting. Angel and I, like I said, we'll figure out when we're going to do this. It might be bi-weekly. It might be a weekly. It all depends on schedule and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you know. Maybe we'll let you know by Sunday, Monday if we'll be live that Tuesday. Just real quick, there's a lot of rumors that the Pittsburgh may go after Justin Fields, and that could be dangerous. He's good, man. I like him.
On any other team, he's going to be good.
Yeah. So get ready for a long season, folks, if that happens, because all our quarterbacks are going to be legit in our division.
You've seen the schedule. It's going to be a tough year in general.
Yep.
That goes without saying. We got Dallas, we got Texans, we got Pittsburgh twice. Joe Burrow's going to be back. So it's going to be a big conference fight, but also out of conference battles as well. Not too afraid of Dallas anymore, man. I'm really not.
They're in.
I'm surprised RJ isn't in here talking about it now. But yeah, I'm going to close this out with some ads from our sponsors real quick. Again, be sure to check out mistakesonalake.com. Seriously, some of the most comfortable shirts.
Facts.
Without saying. They're great. Great people over there. They will take care of you with whatever you need, deliver it right to your door, or you can go in store, check them out. And Chris from CB Excavating, he will take care of you. Give him a call. And all your excavating needs, he'll be there. But yes, thank you again, Angel. You're the man.
No problem.
And
you are too.
You guys be sure to go check out this shirt. That's the wrong way. That shirt at our merch store. Link is in the video on YouTube for sure. There, you're facing the right way. You can't see it, Angel.
I can't. So
that's it right there. Look at that new logo on that white long sleeve bearded brown shirt. But yes, thank you guys, and we'll let you know on our pages when we're going to go live soon. And again, thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you all soon.